Hello everyone, good evening. I hope you guys are doing well and am pretty much audible as well as visible to you guys. So just a quick hi or hello in the chat would be really good. And again, I welcome you all today in our second lecture for Python for data science. We are talking about Seaborn for visualization in data science. Hi Mrinal, hi Shaunak, thank you for joining. Thank you Mrinal for confirming. Great. Hello Vandana, thank you for joining in. I hope you guys are doing well. Right, heat map भी बनाएंगे यार मृणाल बिल्कुल बनाएंगे क्या टेंशन है so it's part of our agenda, we'll be doing that. Right, so again guys, any questions from anything so far, whatever we have discussed, or anything specific which you want to talk about, so we can take it meanwhile we are starting our lecture. So I'm all ears, I'm monitoring my chat, right? So I will come back to you for your queries. So please utilize this time and you can ask me any doubts if you have. Right, so as I was talking, so we are into our new subject, Python for data science. यार मैटप्लॉटलिब भी सेम ही है बट मैटप्लॉटलिब स्पेसिफिकली तो इसमें नहीं है. आई हैव इंट्रोड्यूस सीबॉर्न सो विच इज़ एक्चुअली एन एडवांसमेंट ओवर मैटप्लॉटलिब. I hope your questions would be answered in that sense for Seaborn only. But again, agar if you have any specific questions for Matplotlib also, do let me know. So maybe I can take up couple of session for Matplotlib also. Should not be an issue for me. Seaborn actually advancement है यार on top of Matplotlib है ना. So Matplotlib से better है Seaborn because it's more flexible. जो भी आप Matplotlib में बनाओगे ना, so Seaborn उससे ज़्यादा options provide करता है. But again, still, if you have anything specific for Matplotlib, do let me know. I'll prepare the content for that so we can take it up. Should not be an issue. But again, in this content, we are talking about Seaborn specifically. ठीक है guys, as again, please do start putting up your questions so we can take up meanwhile we are starting our discussion. So all the questions are welcome. No question is bad and no question is wrong. ठीक है, so we can take it up as in if it comes. In my current 5th sem ML is there, so these are necessary and helpful. हाँ परफेक्ट. सो इनफैक्ट अगर आपको मैटप्लॉटलिब पढ़ा रहे हैं इन 5th सेमेस्टर, सो अगर आप सीबॉर्न करोगे ना, सो सीबॉर्न से योर फैकल्टी मेंबर्स विल बी रियली हैप्पी ऑन टॉप ऑफ मैटप्लॉटलिब. सो डू नॉट वरी अबाउट दैट. सो सीबॉर्न इज एक्चुअली एन एडवांसमेंट ओनली. ठीक है, सो I'm actually I've tried to cover the basics and I've tried to add as many plots as I could from Seaborn, है ना. It's again totally based on my knowledge and my understanding of it. Still, if you have anything which you feel that you want me to cover specifically, जैसे आपने heat map बोला, so heat map is part of my content, so I'll cover that heat map as when it comes. But again specifically अगर आपके पास कुछ और भी है which you want to discuss, so do let me know so we can cover that. Should not be an issue. ठीक है. Cool. So guys, again, let's start. So we're gonna cover the things as it comes. So as I was talking, so in our lecture today we'll be covering the Seaborn plots, right? So Seaborn plots we'll be talking about. But before that, let's have a quick round of introduction. So as you know, my name is Arpit Jain. I'm a senior data scientist myself. I have been into industry for almost 9 years now, and I'm a motivational speaker as well. So if you have any questions regarding your career, regarding your job, so do feel free to put up your questions. I'll try to answer that as well. Subjects as part of our content are mainly towards Python, SQL, and data science. Python we started a couple of months back, but that was core Python, and we covered few odd things there in data science as well regarding pandas and numpy. But specifically, we have started a new stream, so that is Python for data science. And in that, I'll be specifically covering about the topics from data science. So I have a couple of feedbacks regarding the visualization and TensorFlow. So I have prepared my content for Seaborn specifically for visualization, and then I'm going to be covering TensorFlow post that, maybe starting from next week onwards. So we'll be talking about TensorFlow. In TensorFlow, I'll be trying to cover the neural networks concepts, so the basics of it. I won't go very deep, but again, if you want me to go very deep, we can do that as well. But I'll try to cover the basics of neural networks, the other things as well, and then we're going to talk about the functionalities of TensorFlow, how it can be used and all. So we're going to do that. But again, if you have any specific requirement, guys, to put up your recommendations, I'll try to modify the content accordingly. Cool. So along with that, guys, you have the code right in front of you, which is Python 10. And with this, you can get a free Relevel sample test paper. Okay. So now, quick promotion, you know what is Relevel? So it's basically a platform where you can get your dream job. Okay. So many a times candidates do miss out on the great opportunities due to multiple reasons. So sometimes they do not have the right degree or a better degree from a tier A universities, and maybe not having the right networking, so you don't know the right people to contact for your job, and most of the times your resume is not actually standing out compared to other 100 odd applicants for the same job. There might be some issue in your resume or something else, and also you're applying for 50 60 odd jobs or companies, but still you're not getting a single call. So again, a very practical issue, guys. So again, for this, there might be an issue that you're not getting your dream job. So for all of this, to cater this problem actually, so Unacademy has launched a platform which is nothing but Relevel. So Relevel is a platform where you are only dependent on your skills and talent, nothing beyond that. So your job is purely based on your skill, and it's basically a testing platform, guys. So what happens is you have to choose one of the stream of your choice, and based on that stream you have to sit for an assessment, and you have to just give your best in the assessment, and based on the scores of the assessment you will be getting the interview calls from the companies directly, right? So it's totally not dependent on your degree or any sort of networking. It's purely based on your skills and talent. So if you're skilled enough, if you're able to score good marks in your assessment on the Relevel platform, so that's what it is required, right? And if you be part of the Relevel testing platform, so there are again certain other benefits also involved on top of this. So I'll be briefing out you on some of them. So right now there are over 50 plus companies, including the top startups and even the unicorns, which are hiring directly from the Relevel platform. And those include the companies like ENY, Upgrad, Cred, Razorpay, Urban Company. Many more such companies are hiring directly from Relevel as a platform. And plus, there are 1,000+ open job positions right now across three portfolios: business development, front end, and the back end development. And this is completely online, guys. So you are not expected to be physically present anywhere. So you can take it from the comfort of your home. And the best part is it's completely free. There's no money involved in this, so you're not supposed to pay any, even a single penny. Yeah, I mean, it's a beta platform, right? There might be a few charges later on, but right now it's completely free. So if, you can at least apply for one of the tests. So the only expectation is you have to finish the entire test in a single day. There might be multiple rounds, so you'll get to know the details once you register. But the only expectation is you have to finish the entire test in a single day, and that day could be of your choice. Okay. So, and once you clear the test, right, so with the qualifying score, you will be able to create an amazing candidate profile, which will be helping you showcase your skills and talent, which is going to be standing out from the crowd, and something that stands out, always gets noticed by the companies, right? And to get the Relevel profile, guys, you have to score at least 70% of the marks. So right now, I believe the assessment is of 1,000 marks. So 700 is the qualifying criteria, but anything on top is the cherry on the cake. So higher the better, right? And you can take this test again, but only after 30 days of your first attempt, right? So you can take the test a number of times, but with the gap of 30 days if you do not meet the qualifying criteria. And also you will be awarded with some good exciting goodies like MacBook, iPhone, and something else. And depending on your score, so it will be given to the people who are the highest rank holders for a particular category in a month. So with Relevel, guys, you are in a unique position to invite interest from the companies instead of you hunting for your own opportunities. So you have to just sit and give the test. Once you have the right score, you have to just sit back and relax. The companies will reach out to you for your opportunities. Cool. Registration is also quite easy, guys. So you have to just follow the instructions. So once you are into the website, which is there in the YouTube description also, you have to just register yourself. And the first thing it will ask you to choose from the test of your choice. So right now, as I've said, there are three options: so business development, front end, and the back end development. So there are multiple roles within, like business development manager, sales associate in business development, and Angular development, developer, web developer in front end, software engineer, back end engineer, and all that in the back end development. Right, so the next thing it'll ask you to choose the date. So this date of your is would be of your choice, and definitely since the beta platform slots are limited, so I would request you to book it fast. The next thing it'll ask you to fill up your details. You can see for the details you have to mention your full name, email ID, birth year, and current state, along with your gender. And at last you can apply the referral code. So you can use Python 10 here, so which is the unique code. So if you want to use Python 10, you'll be getting basically a free sample test, sample paper, right? So you can see the bonus sample paper will be given. So if you apply the referral code, which is Python 10, do not forget that. Once you do it right, so you'll be logging into your home screen. So on this home screen you can see a section of practice. So if you use the referral code, there'll be a section automatically being generated for you, practice, right? So in the practice you can see mock test and the sample paper. So you'll be getting the sample paper by default, right? So if you use the referral code, so that is the bonus thing. So if you're going to use this referral code, so the sample paper, you can attempt it before actually going for your actual test, right? So this is going to be really helpful, guys. Cool. So that's it. With this, you should be ready with your D day. So on the examination day, you have to give your best. So do not forget to register yourself for the re-level. As I was said, so there is no money involved in this. So I don't see a problem in registering yourself, right? So if you do not feel that you're getting benefited, you can just skip it later away, but at least you can try it for once, right? So there's no harm in that. So again, the website is there with you, so on the description, right? So do not forget to register yourself and at least give it a try for once. Right, guys. So also, we are on Telegram. So official Telegram channel, it's on the description. So you can always join this Telegram channel. So with this, you'll be getting the right updates of the upcoming schedule. So you won't be missing any upcoming lectures. So do not forget to join this. Also, guys, please do subscribe and download, like, share the application, the channel of ours. So, I mean, this is the minimum we can expect. So, if you feel that you're getting benefited, do feel free to motivate us as well. So, with this, we are into our content, so which is for Python for data science, and we are talking about Seaborn, right? So, let me jump to the Jupyter notebook quickly. Do let me know if the Jupyter notebook screen is visible to you guys. I hope it should be visible now. Cool. Great, guys. So, any questions so far? I mean, we have covered few things on Seaborn in our yesterday's class. But again, anybody has any question on Seaborn, Matplotlib, visualization, data science? I'm gonna give you 1 minute. If you have anything to discuss about before we start, do let me know. And anyway, I'm gonna give you a quick recap of whatever we discussed yesterday. So just to give you a better shape of our discussion. But again, anybody has any question, do let me know in the chat. Cool. So if there is nothing, so we can start. Meanwhile, you can always put up your question in the chat so we can take it as it comes. So guys, as I was talking about, Seaborn is again more of an high-level API, which is nothing but a library available in your data science for your visualization task, right? So now I was talking about earlier yesterday why visualization is important. So whenever we have your data, right? So you are going to do your analysis, right? So analysis, I mean, you're trying to find you're actually trying to find the hidden patterns, something interesting features, some data patterns available in your data, right? So with this, you actually do some statistical measures like some of the some statistical tests. There are a lot of things which you perform, but also on top of this, if you want to understand the patterns, the best way to do is through the graphs, right? So some form of graph or some visualization of your data, right? And that's where your visualization techniques comes into picture. So there are a lot of graphs, a lot of ways you can visualize your data, right? So there are different categories, different sets of graph, and every graph has its own specific usage, right? And so you cannot use every other graph every other place, right? But again, we will be talking about how to use which graph where and when to use. So we're going to be talking about, but again, as I was said, so Matplotlib was more of the initial packages available for your visualization task. So Seaborn is, I would say, a high-level API built on top of Matplotlib. So it is basically utilizing most of the available functions in your Matplotlib with some added advantages of Seaborn. So it's more flexible with some added arguments and a lot of, I mean, I would say, user-defined changes available in Seaborn. So in that way, it is more flexible. It's good for your visual appearances or more fine-tunings, tweakings, which you want to do. So it's more flexible in terms of that. Cool. Hey Sandeep, thank you for joining in. Sir, the STE only DSA can get me in. Sir, for STE only DSA can get me in. Then why data science? Yeah, I did not get your question, Dipesh. Come again, please. Meanwhile, let's start. So installation is quite easy, and I was talking about this. So in Seaborn, as you know, it comes with preloaded data sets. So we can check the list of data sets available here. So many of them are very commonly used data sets, right? So like flights data, taxis data, so tips, iris, mpg, titanic. So these are very common data sets which are normally used in any of the platform wherever you will be learning, right? So you will be actually learning in through these data sets only. So it's very common data sets. So you won't have to run around here and there for this. So if you by default install Seaborn, right? So these data sets come preloaded, right? So that's basically what we have. Okay. So cool. With this, I was talking about the few aesthetical changes, which is actually quite visible from Matplotlib when we compare with your Seaborn, right? So basic tweakings available in your layout. So layout, as in I was talking about this. So for example, so I've just created a function of to create a sign plot, right? Do not ask me the definition of this. Okay, so we'll go in deep details. But again, I'm just creating a parameter like line space. You remember I was talking about in NumPy. So a line space, I'm giving the start and the end, and I want 100 data points in between similar ranges. I'm creating 1 to 5, 4 different ranges of my sign plot with this definition. So I'm creating 4 different waves, 4 different sine waves. And that's how I'm plotting this on top of my, so I'm using it as a base matplotlib package, right? So now I'm just using the matplotlib for my plotting purpose. So this is how my graph looks like, right? But again, I can, as I've said, so Seaborn has been built up on top of my matplotlib. So I can simply initiate a Seaborn. So how can I initiate a Seaborn on top of it by using the Seaborn defaults? Is by using the set function. Okay, so you remember I have just imported Seaborn here. And in Seaborn, I'm using Seaborn.set. So basically now whatever plot I'm gonna do, that is be on top of my, on top of my matplotlib, there'll be Seaborn, right? So that's how it's gonna be. You can see this. The same graph has now been converted into some of the beautiful, I would say more of an attractive, more visual kind of a graph. So you have some default grid available in the background, right? So that's what I'm saying. So Seaborn is actually giving you some extra functionalities, more visual in appearance, and more tweakings available. More functionalities available on Seaborn. But again, as I've said, Seaborn is built on top of Matplotlib. So it is basically utilizing your core Matplotlib functionalities. Okay. So now, so when you talk about the basic layout, right? So there are two things as I was talking about, so styles and the scales, right? So basically styles mean the background style of your, I've started with a very basic layout in the theme of my graph, right? So styles we have certain styles available. So you can see this, I have 5 different themes available in my Seaborn: dark grid, white grid, dark and white without the grids, and the ticks, right? So you can see this is by default a dark grid option available here. So you have a grid and the plus dark here, right? And likewise we can change it. So if we do white grid, for this we have a function called as set style to change the theme. So instead of set, I'm gonna call set style. So that'll be basically for my theme changes, and theme I have 5 options, right? So I can for white grid, can you see now the background, which is gray grid, has been changed to white grid, right? So that's how it has been changing. Plus, again, on top of this, I can still choose to have maybe a dark or a white without the grids option. That is also possible. That is again through set style, guys. Okay. So that's how it is. Now, there is a good function available in Seaborn. Now, most importantly, you have seen that whenever we are plotting the graphs, right? So we majorly look out for the X and the Y axis. So we normally don't look out for my top and the right hand side axis, because generally this is not more frequently used. So in that sense, we can actually remove these axes also. So we have a function called as dspine. So dspine is basically removing the top and the right hand side edge of my plot, right? So same function, guys, I'm repeating it again. So same function, I'm just using a set style of white. And now on this, I'm just calling another function sb.dspine. So before the plot.show, so before showing the plot, I'm using a dspine. So basically dspine is removing my top and the right hand side of my things, right? So of my graph. So that's basically simple stuff. Now on top of this set style, right? So set style, as I've said, Seaborn is very flexible. It is giving you a lot of available functionalities within, right? So I can still, even in this grid, I can still make lot of changes, lot of changes. So this axis set style comes with a further argument called as axis style. So in this axis style, I have lot of arguments available. So now can you see this? I have just printed this axis style options available. So I have something called as axis.face color, .edge color, .grid, axis below, label color. So even in this particular theme of mine, I can have a lot of tweakings available. So, and how you gonna pass it? I'm gonna pass it as form of my more of an argument here, along with my my set style functionality. So I'm gonna be passing here like this as a dictionary. So dictionary here, in this I have a lot of options. I can choose anything. So just to showcase, I've picked one, right? So now along with this dark grid option, and I'm passing axis dot below as false. So like it make it as true. So now what I'm saying is, now look at this. So now okay, now axis dot below को तो false करना पड़ेगा मुझे. Now can you see this? Now here what is happening, my axis, so basically my data points is gone below my grid. So my grid is on top now. Can you see this? On the edges you might be seeing that here you can see the white thing is coming up, right? So my grid is on top of this. So likewise I can change the look and feel of my graph a lot. So I have a lot of functionalities available within. I can even change the grid, and I can change even the label ka color. I can change even the grid ka color also, right? So lot of things available, guys. You can just play around with this, right? So face color, edge color, label color, lot of things available. Okay, so even you can see this grid color, line style also. Line style by default is a plain dashed line, right? So you can have it like dots and line and whatever you want. So more functionalities available within your Seaborn, and you can pass it along with your set style. So remember, guys, so first is your styling option. So set style is to use the default theming purpose, right? So that is used for your themes. So post this, I was talking about, yeah, you can see this. I'm passing multiple options here. So I can change the face color. Instead of yellow, I can pass red. and then axis dot grid. So grid I want, whether I want or not. So I want the grid so to be true, and even the grid color I can change is to say yellow. Now look at this. So now the background is red, which is my face color, and the grid color I have changed it to yellow. So I can do a hell lot of things here in this, right? So many things are available, so you can still play around with this, right? I won't go much detail here. The second thing I was talking about is context. So first thing you did the styling. Styling may you did what? You did basically the changes of your themes and look and feel, the appearance of your graph. The second thing is your context. So context, basically you're changing the scale of your data. Scale, I mean, so right now by default you're seeing what scale. So it is ranging from -6 to 6 on the y-axis and 0 to 14 on x-axis, right? So now it depends where exactly you want to look your data. So if you're watching on your phone, so you might not be able to zoom much. So rather you change your scale and try to visualize the data accordingly, right? So for the scaling purpose, we use the function set context, right? And in the set context, we have 4 options available. By default is notebook. So what you are seeing here is a notebook style of my my context, right? So now if I change this notebook to poster, for example, same thing. Okay, so I'm using the same function again. Now can you see this? Now the scaling has changed. So in the y-axis, instead of starting from -6 to +6, now this has changed from -5 to 5, and plus there are no further subdivisions available, right? So it is only showing 3 numbers, -5, 0, and 5, and plus on the x-axis also 0, 5, 10, right? So basically it has shrunk your data, to shrunk your graph to fit into a particular a place where you want to see it, right? So like a poster design, or in fact if you do it for paper, so paper also it gives you few more granularity in it. So it depends where exactly you want to look your data as, right? So if you want to resize or rescale your a particular graph, so then you can use set context, right? So that's how it is. Cool. That's about my look and feel of your data, guys. So set style and set context, basically for your look and feel. Set style for your theme backgrounds, for set style and set context for your scaling of your data, scaling of your graph. Okay. So now the very next good thing which is available within your Seaborn is that you can play around with the colors. Okay. So colors may also, you have an option called as color palette. So you have something called as color palette function. So color palette by default takes 3 arguments. Okay, so palette here, the first argument is the color. So the choice of colors which you want to use. And again, by default, Seaborn has some good collection of color palettes. So choice of colors available. So I'll be showing you around that, right? And number of colors. So how many colors in that palette you want to choose, and the saturation level. So number of colors by default is 6. You can still increase or decrease it. I'll show it to you in the next graph. But again, the readily available Seaborn palettes are like this 5 or 6. So like deep, muted, bright, pastel, dark, colorblind. I'll show you again. But again, along with that, I have certain really good amount of palettes available. So this is the entire list available here, right? Accent underscore R, which is my reverse of accent. Blues underscore R, blues ka reverse. And then paired, PUBUGN, and then I have spectral, I have autumn, I have summer, I have rainbow, prism, lot of different palettes available. And I'll show it to you exactly how and when to use these graphs, these colors. Okay, but again, how you can choose this? So you have an option called as color palette, as I was talking about, right? And you have a function called as palette plot, so pal plot. So you can actually just look at the color here. So if you pass the twilight, so I have a twilight here. So twilight is basically, this is the plot, this is the color, right? And I was talking about the by default what it takes, it's 6, right? So I can pass another argument, say 10. So now instead of giving say 6 colors, now it will give you 10 colors, right? So it can again take an option like that. So now the important thing to understand is when to use which kind of graph, right? So now you can see this here. It started from blue and it ended in mid in black, red, and then gray, right? So I mean the light grayish kind of a thing, right? So the color tone is changing, right? So likewise, we have something called as blues, right? So you can see this blues here. So let's see how blues work. So it's a shade of blue basically, right? So starting from something and then ending at something. So it's still a shade of blue. So now there are multiple color palettes of such sort available. So you can look at, you can understand. First, the objective is to understand what is your objective. So based on that objective, you can define what exactly a color format you want to choose, right? So now you can see this. So basically there are three different types of choices you can look for. Random. So you're not sure, and any random. So you can choose the default selection. So you do not pass anything. So by default it will take dark. So you can just pass anything. So don't pass anything. Sorry, it will take the by default random available information. The second is the sequential data, right? So for the sequential data, you have the shades of information like the greens or the blues or the yellows or the reds, right? So you have the shade available. So starting from something and then ending at something. So it's a sequential data. And then the last one is diverging data. So you have some sort of available like a differentiation, right? So less than 0 and then greater than 0. So two bifurcation of your data, right? So something called as BRBG. I'll show it to you how BRBG looks like. So it's a bifurcation here. So basically, my God, what happened? BRBG is not available. Okay, BRBG, G is capital, and my bad. Okay, by the way, did you notice? So if I made an error here, it is giving you the list of available here. So it's not available within this. So this is the list which I've exactly copied on top. Okay. So even I don't remember this. I have just copy pasted this entire list here. So if you don't know, you can just write some random thing. It will automatically give you the available things. Okay. So this is what I have done. So now, as you have noticed, just G is capital. Let's do that. So now can you see this? So now below is, you can take this as your distinction. So top 5. So first 5 of your color palettes would be your minus, and the next 5 would be your plus value. So like a distinction of your data, right? So you can use it on that sort. So you have to identify what data you have and what is your objective. Accordingly, you can choose your color palette. Cool, that's it. So so that's about what we discussed yesterday. So today we're gonna start with the univariate analysis. So I was talking about the univariate and the bivariate analysis, right? So we have one question. Hi sir, can I use hexadecimal code of color to add in the graph? Why not? Why not? You can absolutely do that. So again, the question what Shaunak is asking right now is more towards your so each of your color code is basically having the hexadecimal code also. So if you know the hexadecimal code of your color palette, why not? You can use your hexadecimal code. But again, if you do not know that, so you can directly give the name also. So internally, this all palette has been mapped with the hexadecimal code also. So you can use that, Shaunak. Okay, so cool. So coming back again, so univariate analysis and the bivariate analysis. So univariate guys, kya hai? Uni means single, one, right? Variate means variable. So single variable ka plot. So that is what a univariate analysis is. Bivariate means what? So bi means two. Variate means variable. So two variables ka plot, that is a bivariate analysis, right? So let's talk about the univariate analysis. Okay. So univariate, as I was talking about, there are a lot of graphs we can use, but distinguishingly which is used to understand the your spread of your data, your dispersion of your data. So how my data is spread out, how my data is overall located towards the overall, I would say the pattern, the trend, the spread of your data. So that is through your histogram. So histogram is one of the very locally available data type or locally available your graph type, which represents the distribution of your data in forms of bins. So bins basically certain groups, certain clusters. Based on certain clusters, how your data is spread out. Okay, and then it is actually shown using some bars. So I'll be giving you that, and then each of your observation is falling under a certain bin. For example, suppose I have a data, suppose age data, okay, so age of certain employees, right? So you know, by default age will lie somewhere between 1 to 100, maybe take an exception of 120, okay, that is too much, so take 100 only. So 1 to 100, okay, right? So that is your range, you know, the range of your data. So now what histogram plot will do, it will create a smaller bins of your data. Like for example, say it will create 5 bins. So first bin would be 0 to 20, 20 to 40. Second bin would be 20 to 40. Likewise, 20 ke gap mein it will create 5 bins. So 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60. So I have 5 bins now, right? So 5 bins matlab 5 groups. Okay, so now it will try to identify the number of occurrences, number of people falling under such individual groups, individual bins. So for example, suppose if I have say 50 employees, 50 person to look for, and out of 50, 40 are falling between the range of 20 to 40. So there is a huge spike. So there is the number of occurrences on 20 to 40 is very high, right, compared to my other bins, right? So this is one of the very interesting patterns that shows that the number of people in the range between 20 to 40 is quite high, right? So there are lesser people who are of old age or who are children, right? But the mid-age people are of abundance. So there are more mid-age people in a particular locality. So that's your observation, right? So that's how histogram helps. So histogram distributes your data to identify the data distribution in forms of bins. Okay. And to plot this histogram, we have a function called as dist plot, distribution plot. So as I was talking about, histogram kya hai? वो distribution को plot करता है, right? So we have a function called as dist plot, right? So dist plot, and by default, this plot takes 4 arguments. Okay, so 4 arguments क्या क्या हैं? Data. सबसे पहले by default आपका जो data आपको pass करना है, and you know you're looking at the spread of your single variable here, univariate, right? So you have to pass a 1D array of data or a list of data or a single column of data. A single column is nothing but a list, you already know that, or a series, right, or a 1D array, right? Bins, basically you have to specify, if you want to specify the number of bins you want to create in the particular data, or by default it will take its own data. Histogram or KDE, so KDE I'll talk about that, or histogram, basically you want the bars or not. So I'll show you these individual functionalities, and let's see that. Okay, but before this, I have first loaded one of the data sets. So I was talking about, so I have a lot of available data here, right? So preloaded data in your Seaborn package. So from this, I have loaded one of the data set, which is iris. Okay, so very commonly used data, right? So very commonly used data, guys. So do not get confused by this. So I have iris data set loaded. So in this iris, once I've loaded this data, right? So you can see this. So this data has 5 different columns. So 4 are my numerical data. Numerical means some number is available within my data, and the last is species, right? Species is a category here. So like the species of my flowers, Sitosa, Virginica, and what all. Okay, so this is my data frame. So now I'm trying to plot. So look at this now. So I have set a context of notebook. So by default, okay, so I have set a context of notebook. And now I'm trying to plot the dist plot of one of my variables, which is petal length. Okay, so I've just picked petal length here, and let's do not pass anything. Okay, and now look at this. So by default, what all available functions are majorly available here? Bins, hist, kd. So again, there are a lot of other functionalities available here, but majorly which are used are hist, kd, bins, and all that. Okay. So I'm not passing anything. So if I'm not passing anything, so by default, it will take what? It will take it bins as none. It will take hist as true. It will take KDE as true. So now look at this. So now it has plotted a graph based on your available information, right? So now this is your petal length, and now petal length, it has created how many different bins by random. It has created the bins here. And also it has shown you the number of the density, the occurrences of my data on each of these bins. Okay. So now here you can, did you notice? So it has by default plotted histogram as true and KDE as true. So histogram is basically nothing but these bars. Okay. So this hist is nothing but these bars. So if I put this say hist is equal to false, so it's gonna remove my those particular bars from the background. Okay, now if I now this line basically is a runtime information of my graph, so running line. So this is nothing but we call as KDE internally. So KDE, if I put as false, so basically nothing will come here, right? So this KDE is also gone. So put histogram as false and KDE as true. So basically you want only the run chart of your density. So this is how it will be given. Or if you put KDE as false and hist as true, so basically you'll be only seeing the bar, right? So you can again just play around with this data. So instead of petal length, you can also pass say sepal length, right? So you can also pass say sepal length in this. So you can also you'll be able to see the trend of your sepal length in this. So this is quite enormous. So the data is quite evenly spread, I would say, because here in this, if you pass KDE as true, now look at the trend. So it's more of a bell curve. Bell curve again, it's more of a evenly spread data. So starting from something, then you have a peak, then you have a fall, right? So more of an evenly spread data. We internally in the data science we call it as bell curve. So you can see a bell formation here, right? So it's more of a evenly spread data, right? So it's form of a bell curve for me. So bell curve again, there is a concept called as central limit theorem in statistics, guys. Okay, so central limit theorem again, it has something called as empirical formula. So you have it's basically deals with the spread of your data. Okay, so from the mean we calculate the sigma deviations of your data. So if your data has certain percentages of data within certain set of sigma values, like for example 3 sigma, 2 sigma, 1 sigma, right? So 3 sigma left from the mean, 3 sigma right from the mean. So if your data is 99.97% available within this range, your data is normal. So we call it as following the central limit theorem. So following the empirical formula. So that's again is roughly nothing but it's more of a following a bell curve. So your data is following a normal distribution or normally distributed data. But again, if you look at the sepal instead of petal, so in fact, let me plot it separately for you. And so instead of sepal, let's plot it petal. So now, यार petal नहीं है क्या क्या है petal length ही तो है क्या हो गया okay sorry my bad. Okay, so now can you see this? The data is not at all evenly distributed. So we have some other trends. So it has first risen up, then gone down, then again up, then down. So it's not following a standard bell curve. So data is not normally distributed, right? So it's not following the central limit theorem. It is not bell in shape. So likewise, here you can see the data is more normally distributed. The data is more evenly spread out. Okay. So these kind of trends, so see, there is an objective of plotting this graph. So you're not just plotting for fun, right? So the objective is to understand what is the hidden inferences from these graphs. So that is what it is very important. So again, guys, always remember, being a data scientist, being a statistician, your job is not to run the codes, right? These codes can always be automated. It can be automated any fine day, right? So your job is not to run the codes. Your job is to get the inferences of what has been run, right? So now I have run this code. I have already plotted this graph. So now what are you able to figure out from this graph? So that is something for which you're getting hired for. So always put a reward on your candidature, right? So it's not, you're not getting hired to run a code. Okay. You're getting hired to explain me what are you running? What are you getting as an output? Okay, so that is the reason why I'm stressing again and again on the inference. That is very important. Okay, so I hope you got this point. Bell curve, central limit theorem, empirical formula. बहुत deep तो नहीं गए, but basic तो समझ में आ गया होगा कि मैं क्या बोलना चाह रहा हूँ normal distribution से. Yeah, Himanshu, SQL again, yeah. So I was explaining it earlier also. So we'll be doing SQL in over the weekends. So this weekend again we have 4 hours of class. So 2 hours each on the weekend, starting 10 a.m. in the morning. So we'll be doing SQL problem solving live. So but again, since it's been long, so I'll try to cover a quick recap of my concepts and then try to jump into the problem. So we'll try to solve the live problems maybe from say hacker rank or lead code. So we'll do that. Okay. Cool again, but thank you for reminding. So we'll take it in the SQL session. Again, guys, anything if you want me to cover, if you are feeling left out in this plot or Seaborn, do let me know. Okay, I hope it is making sense for you guys. Cool. So with this, again, as I was talking about, a lot of available functionalities, guys. So you can always play around with this. Okay. So now till here, we have covered the univariate. So this plot is one of the very most frequently used univariate analysis graph, right? Video on statistics for data science. Yeah, देखो, this channel is basically for coding. Okay. So I'm trying to add a master class in between for the data science part also. So if I go too theoretical in data science, right, or stats, I'm not sure people will like it. So I mean, again, you guys are the viewers, so do let me know if you want me to do that. I'm okay with it, but I don't want to go off track from the channel's objective. So I'm still sticking to a Python with a flavor of data science on top of that. But again, specifically on statistics or data science, if you want, why not? We can take that. Cool. So with this, we are into one of the very interesting topics now, bivariate analysis. Okay, so bivariate, as I've talking about, so are two variable plots, right? So two variable means it's basically dealing with the relationship between my two variables and how one variable is behaving with respect to another. Okay, so the interrelationship between my two variables, this is what I'm trying to find out. Okay, so generally there are 2-3 bivariate analysis plots available, like joint plot. There is something called as Hex Bin Plot. There's something called as KDE plot. So there are 2-3 plots which are very interesting and very frequently used for your bivariate analysis. So I'll be talking about these three graphs in my bivariate plot. So joint plot, I have something called as Hex Bin Plot, and then I have something called as KDE plot. So let's take it one by one. ठीक है. So joint plot क्या करता है यार? Joint plot पहले एक बार हम देखते हैं. हम इसको पहले प्लॉट करते हैं, देन I'll give you the इसका specific meaning. Now notice here guys, अभी हम डिस्ट प्लॉट में क्या कर रहे थे? डिस्ट प्लॉट में वी आर ओनली पासिंग अ सिंगल कॉलम बिकॉज इट्स अ यूनिवेरिएट प्लॉट, राइट? आई एम ट्राइंग टू एनालाइज द पैटर्न ऑफ माई सिंगल वेरिएबल, द स्प्रेड ऑफ माई सिंगल वेरिएबल, राइट? ये मेरा यूनिवेरिएट एनालिसिस था. अब मैं क्या कह रहा हूं कि आई वॉन्ट टू एनालाइज द डेटा, the cross relationship between my two variables. So instead of passing a single variable, I'm passing two variables now, two columns, right? So I have x and I have y here. So in the x column, the x axis, I want the petal length, and along with the petal length, how my petal width is behaving, that is what I want. Okay. So now in this joint plot, again, since I'm passing x and y as a string here, so specifically to specify, I want to pass the data. So data is nothing but my iris dataset, which I've loaded here from SNS. Okay, simple. So I'm passing a joint plot here. Now look at this, how joint plot looks like. It's an interesting graph, guys. It's actually an interesting graph. So now just try to have a look and feel of this. Okay. Anybody has any question, do let me know this. So now you are able to see two things here. First is this square box where you have some dots here, right? And now on top and the right, you can see some histogram plots, right? The bar plots. So basically joint plot, what it does, it gives you two things. First, definitely the interjection. So your interrelationship between your x and y, and these points are nothing but my data points. Okay, so these dots are nothing but my data points. So basically, so this point means, for example, let me put up a highlighter. How can I put up a highlighter here? My bad, I cannot. Okay, so now look at this graph. So look at or maybe this point. Okay, so this is in between, right? So this means that this particular data point has a petal length of 3 and a petal width of somewhere between 1 and 1.5, so closer to 1, so 1.1, right? So this data point has a petal width of 1.1 and a petal length of 3, right? So now can you see this? There is an increasing trend here, right? So as long as my petal length is increasing, in fact my petal width is also increasing. Can you people notice this? So there is a linear trend. Linear means there is an incremental kind of inference, the data pattern which is showing for your petal length and petal width. So as long as your petal length is increasing from left to right, from 1 to 7, your petal width is also increasing from top to bottom, which is from bottom to top, which is from 0 to 2.5. This is your range, right? Can you see this or not, guys? Just a yes or no in the chat. And is this graph making sense to you? Again, guys, I'm not plotting this graph for fun, okay? So just running the graph, showing the results is not my objective. I want you to understand the importance of this graph. First, joint plot पे हमने क्या किया? हमने दो different elements डाले, दो different columns डाले इसमें, okay? So here I'm plotting a graph and trying to understand the relationship between my petal length and petal width. So the interesting thing which I've figured out from this is, so petal length जब जब बढ़ रहा है, petal width भी बढ़ रहा है. So there is an incremental trend. There is a very definite increment trend here and a very linear relationship. मतलब एक single line में identify कर एक trend है यहाँ पे, है ना? Increment trend यहाँ पे दिख रहा है मुझे, correct? Now here also what you can see is an individual histogram, I would say more of a histogram of my data points. So now can you see this? So petal length में यहाँ पर आपको दिख रहा है कि between in or for each of my petal lengths I'm plotting a graph also. So basically between the initial first bin, which is my 1 to 2, I have enormous amount of data. So the maximum data points is available between my 1 to 1 or to 2 of my petal length, right? And likewise it still then increases first. So there's nothing between my 2 to 3s and likewise. So there's a finite kind of a thing which you can see. So basically it is giving you the individual representation of that particular column also on top. So petal width का trend यहाँ पर है. Petal width का क्या है? इसके ज़्यादातर data point last में है. मतलब यहाँ पर क्या आपको दिख रहा है कि again इसका भी same point है. 0 to 0.5 के बीच में आपका सबसे ज़्यादा data points है, right? So this is quite correlating. कोई issue है इसमें किसी को? Yes, Ronak, absolutely correct. So there is a linear correlation between petal length and petal width. Correlation again same thing होता है. Your relationship between my multiple variables. Correlation आप निकालना चाह रहे हो. दोनों के बीच में क्या relation है? Co-relation है ना? So there is a linear relationship between this. So as long as my petal length is increasing, my petal width is also increasing. ये मेरे को कहाँ से पता चला? Bivariate analysis में हमने करा joint plot. Joint plot में always remember मेरे को हर एक एक्सिस का इंडिविजुअल स्प्रेड भी दिखाई देगा. ओके, दिस इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ माय जॉइंट प्लॉट. ठीक है, अब आप मुझसे पूछ सकते थे कि इसको तो मैं स्कैटर प्लॉट पे भी, ये तो बेसिकली ये इस प्लॉट को हम स्कैटर प्लॉट कहते हैं. ठीक है, स्कैटर प्लॉट बेसिकली मेरा इसमें क्या हो रहा है, स्कैटर प्लॉट में आई एम गिविंग माय एक्स एंड वाई एक्सिस एंड माय डेटा पॉइंट्स आर गिवन इन फॉर्म ऑफ डॉट्स. ओके, इसको हम स्कैटर प्लॉट कहते हैं. या यू कैन आस्क मी दिस क्वेश्चन, इसको मैं स्कैटर प्लॉट से भी बना सकता था. यार आप बिल्कुल बना सकते हो, क्यों नहीं बना सकते हो. But again, guys, there is again a certain objective. I'll come to scatter plot also. But again, here I'm trying to do the bivariate analysis. So generally bivariate analysis में मेरे पास 3 major plots हैं. And in fact, आप KDE plot के अंदर जाओगे ना, so KDE plot के अंदर you have an option called rel plot, relationship plot के अंदर you have an option called as kind. I'll be talking about that. So let me come to that. But again, in fact, I think इसके inferences आपको काफी clear हो रहे हैं, correct? So positive correlation है, increment trend है. And all that, so इसमें कोई issue नहीं होना चाहिए. So that's about my first bivariate analysis plot, which is my joint plot. Okay, the second is my hex bin. Hex bin क्या करता है guys? देखो, अब इसमें क्या है कि अब इसमें क्या, देखो इसमें आपको क्या निकल के आ रहा है कि अब इसके अंदर सपोज आपका डेटा जो है ना बहुत ही स्पार्सली डेंसिटी का है. मतलब अगर आपने स्कैटर प्लॉट डाला बट आपको इसकी डेंसिटी समझ में नहीं आ रही है, बिकॉज देखो यहाँ पर आपको दिख तो रहा है कि बहुत सारे डेटा पॉइंट्स हैं, यहाँ पर आपको दिख रहा है बहुत सारे अगेन बीच में डेटा पॉइंट्स हैं, बट बीच में कुछ भी नहीं है, बट एग्जैक्टली इस एरिया में क्या ट्रेंड है, क्या ये लेफ्ट साइड में है ये वाला पार्ट या राइट साइड में है, ये तो इसका डेंसिटी का स्प्रेड क्या है, मतलब लोकेलिटी ऑफ योर डेटा पॉइंट्स क्या है ना, यू आर ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड द लोकेलिटी ऑफ योर डेटा पॉइंट. सो इन दैट केस जब स्पार्सिटी की बात आती है, व्हेन यू वांट टू चेक द डेंसिटी ऑफ योर डेटा, लाइक पर्टिकुलर क्लस्टर कहां बन रहा है, एक ग्रुप ऑफ डेटा पॉइंट्स कहां पर है, पर्टिकुलर लोकेलिटी क्या है, देन इन दैट केस जब स्पार्सिटी का इशू होता है, देन वी यूज द हेक्स बिन प्लॉट. बेसिकली हेक्स बिन भी सिमिलर डेटा प्लॉट करता है, बट इंस्टेड ऑफ दीज पॉइंट्स इट विल गिव यू द हेक्स बिन्स. लेट मी शो यू दैट. सो बेसिकली इट्स फॉर योर डेटा स्पार्सिटी प्लॉट. लेट मी शो इट यू. देखो नाउ कैन यू सी दिस. सो इसमें मेजरली देखो, अब आपको यहां पे दिखाई देगा हमारा मेजर दो जगह पे प्लॉट्स है, इसमें आपको ये अगेन रेंजेस में दिखाई दे रहे हैं. सो आप यहां पे देख सकते हो हमारा फर्स्ट जो मेजर क्लस्टर बन रहा है वो इस एरिया में बन रहा है और सेकंड इस एरिया में बन रहा है. और इसको आप इनफैक्ट फॉर्मली आप देख भी सकते हो, बिकॉज आपको दिख रहा होगा हमारा फर्स्ट मेजर क्लस्टर जो है यहां पर है, बिकॉज हमारे मेजॉरिटी डेटा पॉइंट्स यहां पर हैं और यहां पर हैं स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट में. सो हमारा एक मेजर क्लस्टर यहाँ ब्लैक यहाँ बन रहा है, मेजर क्लस्टर है जो एकदम स्टार्टिंग में ही है. एंड अगेन आई हैव अ स्मॉलर क्लस्टर हियर. सो दिस बेसिकली योर दिस क्लस्टर इन दिस रेंज, दिस इज योर हेक्स बिन फॉर योर आइडेंटिफाइंग माई density of your data, your locality of your data points. Okay, this is your sparse density. Now along with this I have another darker shade of my blue here. So this is my second I would say more density area, and now the lesser density area, these are my sparsely density, so lighter shades, right? And then I have the white shades here also here. Yes, you can change the hex bin ka sizes. Yeah, you can absolutely change that. So let me show it to you. So in fact you have something called as, if I remember, ratio को भी use कर सकते हो आप, space को भी use कर सकते हो, and right, so you can use that. In fact height को भी, height तो आपको वो axis को change करेगा, ratio and space को आप use कर सकते हो. Yes, again I was talking about Ronak. So in for each of my graph I have multiple options available, right? So I can, that is the beauty of your Seaborn. You can play around with your data a lot. You can actually play around with your data. You can add the data, the labels also here. So that is also possible. So exactly क्या label है. So lot of functionalities are available within your Seaborn. So that is how it is very flexible and very usable, very visible in terms of your graphs. Okay. So I believe this आपको hex bin plot और joint plot में majorly समझ में आया. So basically I've used a kind of hex here. So I'm using my hex plot to basically, instead of plotting a scatter plot like this, the individual dots, I'm plotting the density here. So in form of my bins, in form of my hex bins. So that is what I'm trying to do here. Cool. So now in this, instead of having the hex bins, I can in fact give kind as KDE. KDE क्या होता है guys? Again, look at this. Let me show it to you how KDE looks like. So instead the same thing, instead of having this hex bins and the graphs here, I can run it through a KDE chart. So KDE is nothing but again my line chart of my trend. So you can see this. So now my trend has been identified in terms of a more of a line. So you can see this, the line trend of my distribution of my individual data points. And now the density distribution in terms of my line. So you can see this, a bigger chunk is available here and then in the middle. So again, if I have to compare this graph with my previous graph, I would go with this hex bin in this case, because hex bin is more readable, more visible, right? So in this particular scenario, if I go with this graph, this is not that much readable, because still I'm not able to infer a clear picture of my density, because I could see there is a darker shade of blue here. So definitely more number of data points available in this case compared to here, and here it's definitely spread out. But again, I'm not able to locate the exact sparse location of my data points. I'm able to find out it is somewhere between 0.0 to 0.5. But again, a lot of rings available here. So I would rather go for this. So the only point of talking about these relation points here, guys, you have to understand that although you can plot any graph on any data, but it's always advisable to identify what is useful for your inference. Okay. So availability is abundant. You can plot any graph on any data set, right? But is it really important to do that, or is it really fruitful to do those kind of graph plotting? No. So you have to understand what is the outcome, what is your objective. So my objective here was to identify the sparsity, to understand the density of my data. And Hexbin is quite giving me a very good relationship of my data density, right? So likewise, you have to understand the objective, and likewise you have to plot. But again, the options are multiple. So I just showed you this KD. So in some of the other cases, KD is actually good, right? So you have to plot it according to your requirement. Cool. So again, for specifically my bivariate analysis, we have another plot called as relation plot. So a rel plot, so we call it as, is again for my bivariate analysis only. So in this bivariate, again guys, I have two different kinds available. So in this joint plot, I had the kinds of KDE and I have kind of hex, right? So I've been plotting hex plot and the KDE plot. But in relationship plot, I can specifically go for my kind of scatter and line. But the good thing, I mean, when you talk about the good or the bad, so you won't be getting the individual patterns of my the columns also. So in here in the joint plot, you were getting the individual trends of my the columns also, right? So on top and the right hand side. So you won't be getting that in your relation plot. Okay, instead you can actually plot the kind of exact graph you want, whether you want a scatter plot or you want a line plot. So line plot basically again क्या KDE है ना? So KDE आपको line plot बनाता है. So let's look at that. So let's plot the relationship plot, the rel plot which we have. Okay, so in the rel plot, guys, I've loaded another data set, so which is my tips data. So I'm trying to add, because we did a lot of things on Iris, so let's try to do something on other data sets. So in the tips, so once I've loaded it from the available Seaborn preloaded data set, so I can see different columns here, right? So I was talking about this also earlier yesterday. So I have a total bill here. So total bill on this total bill, what is my amount of tip given? Okay, so $17 may this female gave a tip of $1.01. She was a non-smoker, and the day she went for the dinner is Sunday, and she went for dinner, and there were two people, so they went as a couple. Okay, so like this is how the data looks like. Okay, so in tips data. So now so here I'm just trying to plot a relationship between the total bill and the tips. So basically tips के साथ क्या relation है total bills का? If my total bills is increasing, क्या tip भी increase होता है, या total bill कम है तो tip ज़्यादा है? तो relationship क्या है total bill और tip के बीच में? Okay, this is what I'm trying to find out. Tips को मैंने load नहीं किया क्या? Okay, now look at this. देखो, by default relationship के अंदर एक को मैं यहाँ पर आपको options में दिखा देता हूँ. So you have an option called as kind. So kind में आपको by default क्या scatter है. If you do not give any option here like line or scatter or whatever, so by default it will take as scatter. ठीक है? So this is my by default criteria of scatter. Again इसमें guys height aspect का भी change कर सकते हो आप. Dashes के style को change कर सकते हो, markers को change कर सकते हो. We have a lot of options available. Hue में समझाऊंगा what is hue. So hue is also a very good option. So I'll talk about hue later in my slides. So sizes, again size को आप change कर सकते हो, size of your dots basically. So a lot of options available. So you can play around, guys. So a lot of functions available. So you can play around with this available options. But it's quite handy. So now you can see this. Again, some or the other way, I'm able to find a very faded linear increment again here. I won't say a standard relationship between my tip and the bill, but again, a very good amount of relationship. Right? I would say, I won't say again a very linear relationship kind of a thing, but again, still a fairly decent amount of a trend available. So you can see again an increment trend, but somewhere it's getting faded also. But again, some more or less, it's more of an increment trend. So visually आपको आंखों से क्या दिख रहा है? ये बढ़ता हुआ दिखाई दे रहा है ना? हाँ, बहुत normally I would say very strong relationship नहीं है, but again it's a weak linear trend, right? So आप हम देख सकते हो कि जैसे जैसे आपका टोटल बिल बढ़ रहा है वैसे टिप्स का अमाउंट भी बढ़ रहा है। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मेरा इनिशियली टिप क्या था, अगर सपोज मेरा टिप $1 का है या $2 से कम का है, तो वो $2 का ट्रेंड जो है $20 से कम का है मोस्टली। अब जैसे जैसे मेरा प्राइस बढ़ रहा है 20 से 30 में गया, तो मेरा बिल का रेंज, टिप का रेंज 2 to 4 के बीच में हो गया। 30 to 40 में जनरली और बढ़ रहा है प्राइस, बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली इतने ज्यादा डेटा पॉइंट्स होंगे भी नहीं यहाँ पे, बिकॉज इतना नॉर्मली बिल होता नहीं है। बट स्टिल आपके जो मेजॉरिटी डेटा पॉइंट्स है, इस वाले पॉइंट में देखो आप एक लीनियर इंक्रीमेंट ट्रेंड दिखाई दे रहा है। सो दिस इज व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड आउट। ओके, अगेन सिमिलरली इसी में अगर मैं यहाँ पे काइंड पास कर दूं, काइंड इज इक्वल टू लाइन, सो आपको क्या दिखाई देगा, एक लीनियर रिलेशनशिप दिखाई दे देगा इसमें। ओके, सो बेसिकली अब अगेन ये डेटा जो आपका ये रन टाइम चार्ट दिखाता है, बिकॉज ये बहुत अगेन इन्फ्लुएंशियल नहीं है हमारे लिए। इस हमें एक अगर रिलेशनशिप निकाली हो तो वो एक सेपरेट उसका लीनियर ट्रेंड होता है, रेग प्लॉट होता है, एलएम प्लॉट होता है। आई विल टॉक अबाउट दैट लेटर, बट अगेन हियर आई एम जस्ट प्लॉटिंग अ लाइन चार्ट। सो एवरी डेटा पॉइंट को लाइन से कनेक्ट कर दिया है इसने। सो अगेन हियर इफ यू सी देयर इज अगेन अ स्लाइट हिंट ऑफ एन इंक्रीमेंट ट्रेंड, राइट। सो अगेन ये ऊपर की तरफ बढ़ता हुआ ग्राफ है, राइट। So again, you have to understand कि इस ग्राफ का इंपॉर्टेंस क्या है. You have to realize, you have to read these graphs. So this is very important. Okay. So now based on this plot, guys, again this is one of my rel plot, relationship plot, which is again part of my bivariate analysis. Okay. So in this, I can also plot scatter plot or line plot by using a default function of kind. So kind में scatter is by default, and line also you can plot on top of this. ठीक है. So that is about my relation plot. This is my rel plot. किसी को कोई डाउट है इसमें? मैं सेम चीज़ बिल का टिप का मैं काइंड भी आपको दिखाई दिया। सो काइंड इसमें स्कैटर ही कर देते हैं, सो ये मोर विजिबल रहेगा। ठीक है। अब इसमें मैंने आपको बताया था ह्यू, है ना, ह्यू। सो बेसिकली ह्यू क्या होता है? Its hue is to add another, I would say, a level in your relationship. So basically, now here what I'm doing is I'm trying to understand the relationship of my total bill with respect to tips, right? So total bill or tip में क्या relationship है? This is what I'm trying to find out. But again, now I want to go a bit deep in my analysis. I want to understand is this trend is behaving differently on the day of the week. If the person is going on Sunday or if the person is going on Monday or Tuesday, is there a difference in this trend? I want to understand that. So basically I'm trying to add one more level of my pattern analysis. Okay, so for this I'm trying to add a hue. So basically hue is nothing but one more level of my granularity. Okay, so do not get confused by this. Hue is like just a plain layman term, one more additional level of my granularity. Okay, so hue. So now again I'm plotting the same graph guys. So tips, total bill and tips मैं x and y में कर रहा हूँ, but here I'm passing another argument as day. Day क्या है यहाँ पे डेटा में आपको दिखाई देगा. Day क्या है? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Saturday and all that, right? So इसमें मैं क्या करना चाह रहा हूँ basically, now day of the week के हिसाब से is there a change in the trend of my tip and the total bill? Is what I'm trying to find out. Now look at this, if there is something interesting here. So now can you see this? It has given me the different colors of my days. So I have my Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So there are 4 different days of week on which the data points is available. So now you can see the different trends here. So I can give it and again guys, I can again plot this in the 4 different graphs using a facet grid. I'll be talking about that later. Don't ask me that question. But again, the objective, I'm just trying to show you the importance of hue here. Okay, so hue is just giving you an additional granularity on top of your data. Okay, I understand that again this might not be very readable to you because red, blue, green यार बहुत ही छोटा मोटा दिखाई दे, समझ नहीं आ रहा मुझे, है ना. I understand that point. So to solve that problem, we can again plot the same graph into 4 different graphs. So basically मैं क्या करूँगा, मैं इसको different graph में plot कर दूंगा, different मतलब graph में plot कर दूंगा, and then so basically Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday अलग अलग graph में मुझे दिखाई देगा. ठीक है, still possible. ठीक है, अब मैं क्या करता हूँ वो भी आपको दिखाता हूँ. Again we have an option of something called as इसमें एक ऑप्शन है, आपको दिखाता हूँ यहाँ पे, देखो ऑप्शन है कॉल. है ना, और कॉल रैप। अभी मैं कॉल को यूज कर रहा हूँ। कॉल बेसिकली मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, मैं इसमें अगेन वन मोर ग्रैनुलैरिटी ऐड कर रहा हूँ कि क्या ये ट्रेंड वेरी करता है based on my sex, so whether I'm a male or a female, right, whether it is changing again. So let's okay, let's keep it as it is in fact, and let me run the other one. I have already prepared that, है ना। so इसमें देखो मैंने क्या किया हुआ है, now just look at this, now I'm using this. So here what I'm doing is, now this time I've taken hue as sex, so basically my gender, but now I'm converting this column as day. So basically now I am passing I want to create different graphs for different days, and given the call wrap is 2. So basically one row, क्या कहते हैं, for the after the second day it will create a new line. So basically एक line में मेरे पास 2 दिन के डेटा होंगे। ओके, सो कॉल रैप का वैल्यू 2 दिया है मैंने यहाँ पे। सो दो ग्राफ बनेंगे यहाँ पे, है ना। दिस इज मोर रीडेबल नाउ। So now I have created 4 different graphs for my different days here. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and I've given hue as sex. So basically for each column I'll be having a different trend of male and female, है ना। So male है मेरा यहाँ पे blue and female है मेरा यहाँ पे orange, है ना। So आपको दिखाई दे रहा होगा orange के trends linear हैं, even male के भी trend linear हैं। So again आपको बट अगेन आपको यहाँ पे दिखाई देगा फॉर द टोटल बिल, जहाँ पे on Sunday the number of males paying the bills is high. Can you see this? The number of males paying the bill is overly high. This is evenly spread, but again on Friday there are very less people paying the bill. So basically on Fridays they're not going for outings. You can say take it as an example here, or take it as an inference. And in fact on Saturdays you can see that there are outliers. So on a majority of your dates the outliers are not there. That means that and even the Friday the billing amount are less. But on the contrary, on Saturday I can see some outliers, because so you can take a trend here that there is a probability if you want to get a high tip, you probably go for your dining out help job over the weekend. So there are high chances that you'll get a better tip over the weekends, right? So some of the interesting inferences from this, right? So you have to understand again, guys, so you can add as many complexity as you want in your data, in your graph. So hue is one of the way you add the complexity. You add one more granularity, and then again, even on top of that, the second granularity you can add using call. Okay, even in hue you can pass multiple things, so that's also fine. Cool, that makes sense, guys. Any questions for anyone? सेम चीज है, मैंने यहाँ पे डिफरेंट डेटा सेट के साथ फ्रॉम साइज एंड टिप. सो बेसिकली साइज क्या है? साइज नंबर ऑफ पीपल गोइंग फॉर डाइनिंग आउट, राइट? सो साइज एंड टिप में भी देख रहा हूँ. सो क्या इस साइज और टिप में भी कोई रिलेशनशिप है? सो आई एम ट्राइंग टू फाइंड आउट दैट यूजिंग अ रेल प्लॉट. सो या आई एम सीइंग दैट as long as my size is increasing, there is a genuine trend in my tip. So right, so as long as my size is increasing, so basically ज़्यादा लोग आते हैं, फैमिली आती है, तो फैमिलीज जो है ज़्यादा टिप देती है ना. सो वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग इन्फ्लुएंस ऑन दिस. बट हमारे इंडियंस में तो ऐसा होता नहीं है. जहाँ फैमिली जाती है, मम्मी पापा जाते हैं, टिप तो और कम हो जाता है. Right? So interesting inferences, guys. So again, always remember, you are not getting hired to run a graph, to run a Python code to just see a graph for fun. No, your objective is to read out this graph. Okay, very importantly, your objective is to read out this graph. So what is the inference from this? I'm plotting a line here. Ci none को हटा देते हैं एक बार के लिए, इससे ज़्यादा कोई फर्क पड़ेगा नहीं. सो बेसिकली कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल दिखाई देगा यहाँ पे. सो आपको ये दिखाई देगा कि यहाँ पे इसका क्या कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल है. अभी इसमें कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल के डीप में नहीं जाते हैं. सो आई विल कवर द कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल सम अदर टाइम. So basically जो shades है ना, इसमें ये कहाँ से कहाँ तक वेरी कर सकता है. So for this tip, say size of 5, the tip can vary from say somewhere 3 to 5. So this is your range for the size of 5. So this is talking about the range. So the range of my tip, right? So it's more of a confidence interval we call as in statistics. Okay. So this is how the trend is. So again, guys, I hope I'm making sense, right? So there is at least you people are. So we're gonna cover this a pair-wise relationship from tomorrow. But again, till here, univariate and bivariate analysis. Anybody has any question? I hope I'm making sense to all of these graphs, right? So it's not again, guys. I'm still repeating this. Your objective is not to run a code and show me the different graphs, rather how you are able to understand it, how you are able to fetch this, how you are able to read these graphs. That is what is giving you your importance, your piece of cake, right? Cool. Anybody has any question? Ronak, Sandeep, Himanshu, whosoever is part of our chat. Guys, just a yes or a no if I'm making sense to you. Anybody has any questions? Cool. So if people are okay with this, so let's wrap it up for today. So we're gonna do the rest of the things tomorrow. So we're gonna cover the pair plots and the other remaining statistical plots like box plot, bar plot, and all that. Okay, so we're gonna cover it tomorrow. So I hope we are on a good pace. So I'm not being very fast, and I'm again not being very slow. But again, any feedback, any suggestion, guys, do let me know that. So I'm all ears. But thank you so much for asking questions. So that's always motivates me. So if you have anything else, anything which you want me to cover, as I've always said, always please do let me know your feedback, so suggestions. I'm all ears. I always modify my content according to the things. Okay, according to the requirements. So that's what I always look for. I'm okay to change my content, to modify my content, but again, let me know what exactly the requirement. I mean, what do you want me to cover, right? Statistics, I've taken this as a feedback, so I'll try to take it as. Technical interview यार again it depends. So technical interview अगर आप बोलोगे for data science specifically, right? So for data science तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं. So like statistics, ML, Python, SQL, right? So अगर आप specifically बोलोगे तो you have to focus on all of these. So we have started with Python. So Python we have started a couple of months back. So definitely if you talk about Python, that will definitely help to crack your technical questions on Python. SQL again, SQL is one of the mandatory skill sets for data science. Again, if you follow the SQL channel, SQL playlist, we've already started SQL, I think 3-4 weeks back, and we are doing a lot of practice questions on that. Even in this weekend also, we'll be solving some questions on from the hacker rank on SQL. So that's definitely, so that's how it is. So Python, SQL we are covering, and now since with this new playlist of Python for data science, so in this I'm trying to cover a few concepts of ML as well, right? Machine learning. So as you remember, so we talked about the central limit theorem. So on and off, I'm trying to cover the topics of stats and ML as well, but not specifically into stats and ML, but with a flavor of Python on top of that. Okay, so I hope I'll whenever I'm covering something, so I'll give you the concepts behind that. So that should solve your job. But again, I would definitely recommend you to go through the detailed if you are attending your interview right now, because this will take some time to cover the entire topics, right? So if you have your interview in coming few days, so again definitely you have to follow other things, because we will not be able to cover entirely in few days, right? So this will take some time. Cool. So thank you so much for that. But again, asking. Let's. I think we are good for today. So thank you so much, guys. Again. Thank you so much. So I give your evening back. So stay safe, stay healthy. Let's join again tomorrow, same time, 9 p.m. So we're gonna start with the remaining of your graphs. Cool, guys. Thank you so much. With this, let's wrap up. Let's see you tomorrow. Bye bye.